but can you suggest 5 books you think have really built me as a person that I am now? Would really Jesus. 5 books? Fucking hell. All right. Let's go easy one. Robert Nozick, Anarchy, State, and Utopia. But that one requires a little scholarly work along with it. That's not an airport read. That's a little bit more of like cross it off your bucket list kind of read. But that was a big one. Man, what are some other ones? Orientalism by Edward Said, another one that's like totally blew my mind. That would be a big one. I'm trying to think of some other ones that I go back to. What are some of the ones I go back to? I don't know if I have. Oh, I've told you guys about it. I mean, some of these don't hold that place in my life, like top 5 books. I've never like thought about it that way. The anti-doping crisis in sport, it would be number 3, I guess. Man, I don't know. What went wrong? That's funny. Some old Fareed Zakaria books. Boy, his stock has fallen. Those are 3 that I think about a lot. Those are 3 that really had a fairly big change in my worldview. The rest of them could have been papers or, I've got a bunch of them on here, but they don't hold, like, and that's the part too, man. Like I did so much like reading of stuff in my 20s, The Case for Global Capitalism. I read The Road to Serfdom. Well, The Road to Serfdom actually would be another big one. Road to Serfdom would be another one. F.A. Hayek. I've read Milton Friedman's works. I've read the work of John Rawls. These are it's a tough one. I'm trying to think of the ones that are sitting on there. God, I also kind of regret. I mean, the books are on here. I spent a lot of time in my early 20s, like a lot of other college kids, reading a lot of Ayn Rand novels. I guess I would say I would put The Fountainhead on the list for 2 reasons. One, it was big enough that it had an impact, not a lasting one in the sense that I still believe the philosophy of Ayn Rand, which is called Objectivism. I do not, but I'm very familiar with it. And I will say that The Fountainhead is a good book. Whether it's an American classic is certainly up for debate. If you're asking my favorite novel, would be Sound and Fury. The Sound and the Fury. Yeah, God, I spent so much time reading that bullshit. So much time reading Ayn Rand's and Leonard Peikoff, like all their bullshit on objectivism that, and now I've moved totally away from it. I mean, there's a bunch of books like Noah Feldman's After Jihad was a big one I read in the wake of not 9/11, but maybe like right around the Iraq War, I think 2003 or 4, something like that. And that was really impactful at the time, but a lot of that I think has been shown to be outdated. There's just a lot of scholarly work that I did in my 20s that at the time, if you had asked me like even 10 years ago what I hold, there would have been a lot that I would have held up. And I just feel like a lot has just proven to be not true. And it has created some difficulty in like what has shaped your worldview. It's like I learned a bunch of stuff and some of it truly did last. And I am so grateful for all of that, including the methodology behind learning, which is really important. And like the practice of writing, the practice of speaking and making arguments, all of those things. But in terms of like the specific content of what I was taught by virtue of the majors I picked, I regret to inform you that I would have to have a lot of that rethought. A lot of it would have to be rethought. The Eagle and the Lion, which is a book about U.S. history, relations with Iran, was a big eye-opener for me. The Eagle and the Lion, that's another one. Mostly Middle East history, honestly. Tim Wu's Master Switch has been a one that really woke me up to like the brilliance of Tim Wu. There's a few. There's a few for you. Luke, thanks for the content. I recently lost both my parents in the span of a month. Going back and watching previous episodes about emotions being like waves on a rocky beach has really helped me in my struggles lately. Good. Any other books or forms of healthy self-reflection do you suggest for turbulent times? I understand you aren't a therapist, but it's refreshing to hear you speak outside the context of fighting. Best to you and yours. Let me see. Jesus. I don't have a lot. I really don't. I don't know what to tell you other than I'm incredibly sorry to hear about your um, difficulties. I didn't read a ton of books to try and get better, candidly. As I've told you guys before, I drank a lot, way too much. That was not great. Um, I actually believe that I have impaired my long-term cognition by doing that. I don't know if there's any medical data to support that. It could just be my imagination because I don't sleep very much these days. But I actually believe that my long-term cognition, not like it was ruined, but I don't think, frankly, my mental acuity is as good as it once was. Maybe that's a natural part of aging, but I wonder if all the drinking I did played a role. So there's that. But the only thing I really did was, I've said this before, there was really two things that you can do that I ever did. I didn't try and like bury myself in self-help books. I don't, in large part, of course, what was it last week? We were talking about the body keeps the score. That I would not include in what I'm about to say. But in general, I don't really trust self-help books. I don't really trust self-help experts. Again, as a general rule, I am certain that there's probably a whole cornucopia of self-help books that if one found, you could derive significant benefit. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting that's not true. But what I am suggesting is there is so much self-help that I find trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, the charlatans from the actual valuable ones, is more work than there is reward. And what I just found much more helpful for me was trying to live right? Trying to get sleep, trying to have community, trying to get exercise, trying to get sunlight, trying to, just live a life in a balanced and healthy way, and then seeking professional help. Those were the two things that I thought were important, and you do them to various degrees. I did take Adderall for a while, right in the immediate space after my mom died for concentration issues. I've talked about this before. I had to eventually get off of them because they made sleep almost impossible, and that was really bad. And there were other antidepressants that I took along the way, but not for very long. I found that in the short term just to catch my breath, so to speak, much better. But you can just tell, you can pop the pill and you'll feel better, but there's a nagging part of your consciousness that's just kind of telling you, you're not solving the problem, man. You're not solving the problem. It's like hitting the snooze on the alarm. It's going to keep going off. You have to just get up. You have to get up. So unfortunately, I don't have any helpful reading in this regard. I wish I did. If somebody else does, please, by all means, comment on this person's post or this person's question. Help them out. I'm not in a good position to do that today.